Good evening, and welcome to Season 12 of the Emerson Channel Comedy Special. Before we begin tonight's show, please make sure to turn off any personal electronic devices you may have, especially pacemakers. There are 2 emergency exits in the Debona television studio, one to your left and one to your right. In the event of an emergency, such as a fire, earthquake, or James Corden unexpectedly taking the stage, please locate the exit nearest to you and proceed in a calm and orderly fashion, even if Mr. Corden begins to twerk. Additionally, please stay out of the way of any on-set crew or stagehands. They're underpaid and hungry. If you have a concern of any kind, please let our front-of-house manager know, so that they can ignore you. Now, without any further ado, please put your hands together for our host of this semester's comedy special, Benjamin Lampert!
Welcome to this year's Emerson Channel Comedy Special. I am your host, Benny Lamp. How are we doing tonight? That's wonderful to hear. Are you guys ready to hear some of the best comedians Emerson has to offer? Yeah! Me too. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me for a little bit, so we'll just get through it real quick. My ex-girlfriend, she was half black. Well, she still is. She's still alive. She's half black and half Filipino, and I'm half Jewish and half Irish, which is a crazy combination because no one believed either of us that we were dating, but for different reasons, all right? Like, I would show my friends photos of her, and they'd be like, yo, dude, no way, bro, no way, you're lying to us, dude, I know you're lying to us. And then she would show photos of me to her friends, and they would say, him? So that was fun. But yeah, she's half black, half Filipino. I'm half Jewish and half Irish. So if we ever had a kid together, that kid would have been a quarter black, a quarter Filipino, a quarter Jewish, and a quarter Irish, which it's just a lot. That is a lot for one person to be carrying around with their whole life, which is why I thought of a really simple way to kind of remember everything. If me and my ex ever had a kid together, that kid would have been 100% the victim of a hate crime, guys. Yeah. I've been doing comedy for a couple years now. I've had a lot of great opportunities to work with a lot of great comedians. There was one show where the headliner, he came up afterwards and he gave me some advice. And he was like, hey man, your sets are really funny. The problem is you kind of just like ramble on and 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 on. And then there's no real punchline. So the other day, my neighbor, she said to me, hey, Ben, Nee, Lamp, it's a stage name. Even if we were the last 2 people on Earth, I wouldn't have sex with you. Yeah. Yeah, this was especially great for me because I did not ask her this question. She kind of just felt the need to say it. To this day, I still don't know why. So I said, thank you very much for telling me. That's great to know. Just so you know, if we were the last 2 people on Earth, I'd probably kill myself, I think. I think that's probably what I would do in that situation. She starts to cry. Somehow I'm the bad guy. I don't know what's wrong. Guys, can I tell you a story? Can I tell you a bit of a story, guys? Because I feel like we've gotten close in these last 2 minutes. Can I tell you a bit of a story? This is the story of the first time I ever spent the night at a woman's house. One of my most interesting stories. It starts the way that most of my most interesting stories do, with me failing to watch the entirety of The Hangover Part 3. I sit down to watch The Hangover Part 3, and I am offered the chance to do anything else, and I say, yes, I will do that. Which is why when my roommate came into the apartment and said, hey man, do you want to go to a party tonight? I immediately said yes, because my only other option was to watch The Hangover Part 3. Like for context, my roommate and I weren't even on speaking terms when he asked me this. And I was like, yeah, let's do that, man. So we drive out to Isla Vista, which is, for those of you that don't know, Isla Vista is the party town next to UC Santa Barbara. It is 2 square miles of just apartment buildings rented out to only college students, all right? It is like the Garden of Eden for white men who will make you uncomfortable, all right? So he drives us out there. It's about 20 minutes away. Remember those 2 facts. They are both very important. And we show up at this party, and we're there for about 10 minutes, and my roommate says, hey, I'm gonna go check out this other party that my friend was telling me about. I'm like, okay, cool. Now remember, My roommate was my ride, and we were 20 minutes away from the apartment, and I didn't know anybody else in Isla Vista that night. And I said, I'm gonna stay here though. You have fun, I'm gonna stay here though. Yeah. Another 10 minutes go by, and this girl, she comes up to me and she starts talking to me. And we having a lot of great conversations. She starts talking to me around 10 p.m. 2 hours go by like that, just like that. And it gets around midnight, everything starts shutting down. So I'm like, hey, let me walk you back to your apartment. I know, hero, you don't have to say it. As we're walking back to her apartment, she like starts holding my hand and she puts her head on my shoulder, and I am like confidence boost like you would not imagine. You wouldn't have recognized me if you had seen me. I was like leaning up. When you get to her apartment, I'm leaning up against her fence like I'm a greaser in a 50s movie, just kind of like. That was the kind of energy I was rocking with that night. And I had texted my roommate. I was like, hey man, I'm gonna walk this girl back to her apartment. I'll call you when we get there and you can pick me up from there. And my roommate says, okay, let's do that. Actually, he didn't say that. He just sent me the yellow thumbs up emoji, which is when I should have known things were gonna go wrong. So we get to her apartment, and I call my roommate, and he says the words that I will never forget. Oh man, I'm already back at the apartment. What do you mean? I literally, the confidence in my body has never left me so quick. I literally went from like this to just like, what do you mean you are already back at the apartment, all right? I don't know how she knew, but obviously I was scared, all right? So she comes up to me and she says, you can spend the night here if you want. And I hop back on the phone with my roommate and I say the thing that I'm sure any of us would have said in that situation. Under no circumstances are you to come and get me. Do you understand? And I hung up before he had the chance to respond, all right? So we go back, we walk up the stairs to her apartment, and the next day I paid $30 for an Uber because she wouldn't let me charge my phone, and that was the only way I could get an Uber to her apartment quick enough before my phone died. That's not particularly, I don't really have a punchline for that, that's just true. And before you guys ask, no, we did not have sex. I feel like I need to get that out of the way right now because a lot of people ask me that question. And sometimes they're like, was it weird that you didn't have sex? And I was like, no, I don't think, I knew we weren't gonna have sex because of just how clear she made it. She as we're going to her apartment, we're not even inside. As she's unlocking the door, she goes, hey, just so you know, we're not gonna have sex tonight. You know how weird it would have been if the guy you met 2 hours ago was like, I think we are. Hate to break it to you, buddy. That would have been really weird. But she said, hey, just so you know, we're not gonna have sex tonight. So my brain, being a comedian brain, translates that into my body doing, nice, keeping the streak going. That's a real thing I did in front of a real human woman, guys. And still spend the night. Anything's possible, guys. Yeah. So guys, I can't lie to you guys. That's not what happened. What actually happened was she said, "Hey, we're not gonna have sex tonight." And I looked at her dead in the eyes and I panicked and I said, "Okay, but what if we were the last two people on Earth?" All right, guys. I'm Benny Lamb. Let's get into this show. Your first comedian coming up tonight. He is a very funny guy. One of the funniest I know. It's Mr. Graham Iden.
Hey, how's it going? How's it going? Give another round of applause for our host, Benny Lamp, everybody. There we go. It's nice to see all of you. As you said, my name's Graham Eiden. A friend of mine once told me she thought I was a Republican. I know. This happened 2 years ago. I think about this every day. Here's the thing, you know, do I look like a Republican? I don't like getting heckled at the comedy special. Thanks. I don't think I talk like a Republican, you know? Do I behave like a Republican? Like, I can't nail this for her. Like, I don't know why she meant it, because the thing is she's from Austin, Texas, okay? When she told me that I looked like a Republican, what she meant was that I looked like a Republican. Catching my drift? Catching my drift. It's just weird to me, you know? Like, I don't know what I did or said that like made an alarm go off in her head, But I bet that alarm sounded something like, wee woo, wee woo, don't talk to this guy about amendments. I'd like to clarify, I'm not a Republican. Yet. I haven't voted. We'll see. Yeah, but I think I know what she was getting at. On paper, my childhood sounds too patriotic. I'll explain. I'm from Washington State. I grew up in a red farmhouse. There was also a barn. My mom is a gardener. My dad is a woodworker. I have one younger brother. We had one cat. We had one dog. My childhood sounds like a picture book. It sounds like I should speak in rhyme and be 2D and be named Hibbity Bibbity Boopkiss and go on adventures with my imaginary friends. Isn't it weird how many children's book protagonists see things? I'm just saying, these kids are having a lot of visions. Such a weird joke. I was raised an atheist. I know you guys are like, what? It's true. I don't believe it either. In every other reality, I think I'm a youth pastor. This is the only one in which this set is not a sermon. Yet. I won't do that again. Yeah. But when we still lived in that red farmhouse, our grandparents would come visit, you know? And you know, I really wish we could have seen them more. They didn't come very often. They could have showed up more. They weren't employed. That's the grandparent. But my grandfather, he has this saying that he lives by: fish and family, 3 days is best. Which is crazy, because in the saying, he has fresh fish. You know what you don't do with fresh fish? Wait to eat it. It doesn't get better the longer it sits around. You know? This has actually changed my philosophy on fish. See, I don't believe that. You know, I just kind of cut out the middleman. When I eat fish, I just eat it straight out of the water. Hum, hum, nom, 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 nom. You thought you were getting smart comedy tonight. No. Yeah. But, you know, it actually happened. I forgot what I was going to say. This is so cool. This is so fun. You guys mind if I, like, pull out my phone and, like, take a picture of myself but actually look like I'm checking my notes? This is awesome. Just, yeah, a little applause for the, yeah. Student comedy, everybody. Student comedy. How are you guys doing? Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that we never saw my grandparents for very long. But that actually made me more excited to see them because, you know, I was always looking for new ears to fill. Yap, 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 yap. That's me. I'm a talker. When I was 4 years old, the only thing I really wanted was an audience that couldn't leave. Actually, I guess that hasn't changed. You guys can leave, though. Please don't leave. I have more jokes. I swear they're good. Isn't that weird how that happens? You're just thinking to yourself, and all of a sudden the words leave your brain. Please don't leave. See, and here's the thing: is when they would come to stay, they would stay in the attic of our house, and I would stay in the loft. Right? These were on opposite ends of the house; they weren't connected. And every morning they were here, I would wake up at like the butt crack of dawn, and I would have one goal: I'm gonna go see Nana and Gramps. And keep in mind, my parents never saw me do any of the following things, but they did sleep right under the loft. So every morning that my grandparents were here, they heard the following noises in this order, okay? Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. Wah! You know what's not good for people prone to heart attacks? that. You know, I wasn't trying to terrorize my grandparents. I just wanted to tell them stories. They weren't good stories. I was 4. My stories were on the only topic I really knew anything about, the African savanna. Yeah, I was just a little bundle of fun. And see, these stories, they always had 3 characters, and the characters were always 3 big mammals, like the ones on the African savanna. And I actually renamed some of them. A giraffe became a girasse. A zebra became a bazi. And an elephant, I don't know why. You might have a guess. You're wrong. I went with ought. I was kind of going freelance on the whole language thing. So every morning my grandparents were here. I would run into their room, jump onto the foot of their bed, and start telling them stories about the girasse and the bazi and the ought. And these animals, they would gab and they would gossip, you know, and they would chase each other around, and sometimes they would fight, and sometimes they wouldn't. And I would talk and 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 talk, while I held 2 people hostage. Yeah. It's not my fault, you know. They just weren't really into things with fur. That's their loss. This next bit might surprise you, but I actually I watched a lot of nature documentaries as a kid. Yeah, specifically the ones with David Attenborough. Do you remember him? This guy? And here we see Graham Iden. That's me. In his natural habitat. That's up here. Telling people about animals when they don't want to hear about it. Yeah. This actually reminds me, I haven't done any animal facts yet. Animal fact, did you guys know that sea otters can have up to 1 million hair follicles per square inch? Humans only have, humans only have like 100. It's pretty cool, right? Yeah. That was a fact I was once going to tell my basketball coach, but I didn't because he was balding. Yeah. End of animal fact, start of basketball material. That's a transition. I wrote that. I do comedy. I played basketball in high school. Played is a strong word. I watched a lot of high school basketball, but only games that involved my teammates. I wasn't even in a competitive program. I played basketball in Seattle, famously a city that sold its professional team to Oklahoma. And our school stank. And I was on the C team, and I was on the bench. I should have been doing literally anything else. For away games, our team would get on the bus, and everybody would sprint to the back, except for me, because I would sit behind the bus driver and read books about mammals. Yeah, it's a theme. See, this behavior actually made my coach nervous. One time he came up to me after a game. I was deep into a chapter about lemurs. And he asked me, hey, why don't you go sit with the rest of the team? And I said, because even if I did, they still wouldn't talk to me. Bundle of fun, remember? That's me. I was the lemur guy. You know, this is all to say that I haven't changed much. I've been the same person for my entire life. An apparently patriotic, nature-loving, storytelling, youth pastory kind of person. This might have been what she meant when she thought I was a Republican. Thank you. That's my time. My name's Graham Eiden. Have a wonderful rest of your show.
Keep it going for Graham Iden, everyone. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, no one's ever said I look like a Republican, but one time in high school, a girl did say I looked like the gay Jim Carrey, so... Yeah, which is what led me to start my theory. And you know, if you guys agree with this theory, you can applaud, you can do whatever feels right. If you guys disagree with this theory, you can boo me off the stage and I'll never perform again. But this is my theory. It's that women like men with just a little bit of gay in them. Just a little bit. Maybe like 15%-ish. And there's historical basis for this. I mean, Harry Styles, Elvis, the list goes on and on. And I've experienced this firsthand. One time I wore a corset top to Isla Vista. That killed. There's a photo somewhere out there of a woman I do not know licking my shoulder. Yeah. And all of my friends, whenever we would go to Isla Vista, they would always be like, Ben, knee, lamp, staging. All of these women, they come up and they talk to you. What's going on? What's going on, dude? And I'm like, wear a corset top once. That's all you have to do. It's so simple. Just do that once. And all the women in the world you could want will be talking to you. And they're like, no, I can never do that. I'm like, just do it. And they're like, no, I can never do that. I'm like, why? And no one would give me a straight answer. No, none of my friends would give me a straight answer until one day I said, why won't you wear a corset top to Isla Vista? And one of them said, Ben, knee, lamp, staging. There is a difference between the women that are talking to you and the women that we want talking to us. Yeah. And before you go, oh, well, how could he say that? He was right. There was one very, very big difference between those two things. The women who were talking to me were real, guys. They're real women. All right, your next comedian coming up. She is a very funny lady herself. It is Elizabeth Stone.
Hey guys, what's up? I'm Elizabeth Stone, and guys, I have a really big secret. Like a really, please don't tell anyone. I need to get it off my chest, but okay, here I go. You're not gonna say anything? Okay. I'm actually a nepotism baby. I got my dad's depression and my mom's anxiety, getting me access to killer medications. I always utilized these so-called connections in school, in life, every chance I got. Being mentally ill made me special, unique, extraordinary. But then I came to Emerson College and I was no longer part of the minority. So to prove that amongst the many sad Emersonians that I was still quirky and that I can be your manic pixie dream girl, I got a heart monitor. I needed an accessory to prove how anxious I was, and I paid $3,000 for a hospital trip and an accessory when I could have paid $5 for a mood ring. I had to go to the hospital because last year I fainted while I was getting food, which was low-key a win because I got a $5 orange juice for free. Thanks. Really sticking it to the man. No, I had to go to the hospital. And while I was there, I got asked a lot of questions like, have you been eating healthy? Do you drink water? What's your major? Which all seem like normal questions, except my answer to every single one of them is a little bit embarrassing. So I lied about all of them except one. Have you been eating healthy? Yes, for sure. Do you drink water? Yeah, every single day. I love the taste of it. It's so good. What's your major? Comedy. The least believable thing is that I am majoring in comedy, and yet it's the hill that I decided to die on because, I don't know, I thought I could network in the hospital, make some connections, get a professional doctor to come to my next show. Any of them here tonight? No? Okay, that's what I thought. I know that's an insane thing to think, but hey, this industry is all about the connections. It's about who you know. One doctor's response to the fact that I was majoring in comedy was to say to me, hey, I make jokes with the older patients that I work all the time. They love that. It makes me feel so funny. You bitch. Had I known that I could get just as much validation with a medical degree and actually make money, I would have gone down that route in an instant. Then maybe I wouldn't be embarrassed in doctor's offices when asked what my major is. The same doctor was later doing an ultrasound on my heart, and he turned to show me the screen, followed by this absolute banger one-liner. He said, see, now nobody can tell you that you're heartless. I let out a forced chuckle, thinking that would be the end of it. He then said, "I'm killing, aren't I?" and put out his fist for a fist bump. Sir, you better not be killing. You are a doctor. This is a hospital. My life is in your hands. Do your damn job and put an IV in my arm. Eventually, after many tests and lack of results, I was allowed to leave the hospital. And I got back at my dorm at 4 a.m., where I immediately made myself ramen and hit my vape. 2 things known to be good for the heart. A few weeks later, I got a heart monitor. And there's a few things that they don't tell you about having a heart monitor. You can't really live like the average college girl lifestyle. I couldn't wear my cool liberal arts school outfits without a noticeable little contraption on my chest. And when my friends offered me cigarettes, I had to remind them, no, I have a heart monitor, before still accepting the cigarette. And when people asked me for nudes, I still sent them. I just captioned them explaining why I looked like a really sad Iron Man. But I think the worst thing about having a heart monitor was having to explain to medical professionals how I live my everyday life. How do I explain to a doctor that I'm having immense chest pain, shortage of breath, and heart palpitations after sitting in my bed for an hour straight watching YouTube shorts? The most unbelievable part of that isn't that my heart rate genuinely reached 195 beats per minute. It's that I really like YouTube shorts, guys. Sometimes those slime videos be hitting, I don't know. Eventually, after seeing many male doctors who told me that I was just anxious and having a woman moment, I got diagnosed with POTS by a female doctor. Hooray! In the male doctor's defense, I am very anxious and I am a woman. I just also have real physical symptoms. I do have depression and anxiety, which only make the heart problems worse. I've actually developed a new fear of dying in my sleep, which I find ironic, because as a depressed person, I love sleeping, and I'm allegedly suicidal. This new fear of dying has come up in multiple ways, though. Recently, I was flying back to Boston, and I had a really sharp pain in my chest. So rather than being logical and assuming that I was having another one of my POTS episodes, I convinced myself that I was having a heart attack. So, what's the first thing that you do when you're having a heart attack on a plane? Go to the bathroom, ask for help, talk to a flight attendant? Folks, these are hypothetical questions, because the real answer is spend your hard-earned money on in-flight Wi-Fi so you can text all your family and friends that you love them, but you're gonna die. Nobody responded to me, though, because I'm like the girl who cried heart attack. Like, this was not my first rodeo. Despite the fact that I have real physical proof that I am not at risk at all for having a heart attack, I, spoiler alert, landed safely. What a surprise, didn't have a heart attack. But having POTS is crazy because I have a wide variety of symptoms like shortness of breath, sharp chest pain, and one of the main ones is lightheadedness, because my heart rate can go from 75 to 175 in a matter of seconds. Crazy. So if you guys ever taken the tea, yeah, I'm a relatable comedian, what can I say? Recently I was on the tea and I was having one of these episodes, and I was standing and I looked around and it was very crowded and I saw one little spot. And I was like, oh no. So I squeezed my way through and I sat down. And I got a lot of judgmental looks. And I was like, oh no. The people on the tea don't know I have POTS. But I'm not gonna announce it to the people of the tea. I'm not gonna go, hear ye. Do not fret, I'm sitting because I have POTS. Or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Please don't look at me like that. Please don't think I'm a bad person. You guys like me, right? No, please don't. I'm sorry. I need to sit. I'm sorry. Taking the tea is my worst nightmare because I can either stand and feel real physical symptoms, or I can sit down and convince myself that I'm the worst person that's ever lived. So I've just started standing and hope that my compression socks do the trick. I have to start wearing compression socks. Oh. Whoa! Yeah, Yeah, I'm enticing. I have sex appeal. Gentlemen, callers, line up. I honestly think that the compression sock is like the gateway to the straitjacket. Because like my skin is locked in, but only from the knee down. It's the first step to complete neuroticism. Having POTS isn't all bad though, because nothing fuels my individuality complex like being the youngest person in the cardiologist's waiting room. It's nice to feel young. Recently, I was at the cardiologist getting yet another ultrasound on my heart, and she was groping my boobs, whatever, and I was explaining my symptoms to her, and she said, "Hey, do you know what could be enhancing some of your symptoms? Did you know that you have a concave chest?" Hey, yeah, I know. I'm well aware. I look in the mirror every morning. I was called Flat Stanley in high school. Like, I'm well aware I have not a lot going on in the chestal region, but concave? A medical professional told me that my boobs are so small that they literally go inwards. I wish a doctor had told me, yo, your tatas are so big that they're literally convex and then dapped me up. But then we'd both be living in delusion. I love living in delusion personally. Like, I honestly feel like my life is a movie, but I hate it when people say, my life is a movie, and they don't specify any further. That doesn't help me get to know what your life is like whatsoever. It could be a tragedy, a rom-com, hell, maybe even a body horror. I don't know what you're into. Me personally, I would say that my life is a movie, and that movie specifically would be The Virgin Suicides. Which is pretty self-explanatory. Just kidding. I'm not a virgin. I've had sex almost as many times as I've attempted suicide. Thank you so much.
Going for Elizabeth Stone, everyone. Come on. Yeah. You know, like Elizabeth Stone, there was a period in my life where I was also having some heart problems, which is why for a period of 4 months, about 2 years ago, I thought Tinder was the right move for me. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Whenever anyone and I had a conversation, we both left as worse people, all right? Which is why I'm gonna share with you guys the top 3 pickup lines I ever used on Tinder, all right? Number 3. This girl, her bio, just says, cancer, all right? Swipe right, it's a yes. Praying for you. Another girl, bio says, I'm a left-leaning Christian who's looking into weightlifting. All right? Swipe right, it's a match. If you're left-leaning, you might want to start with your right arm. That could balance you out. Another girl, her bio says, 4'11" with tattoos. So I asked the question that popped into all of our heads just now. How tall are you without tattoos? All right. Thank you. This next comedian coming up, I wrote with her with the Boylston Report last semester. She is one very funny lady. It is Miss Zoe Weeb.
Hi, guys. I'm going to move this. All right. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable with you. I had my first kiss this summer. Thank you so much. I was 20, and it's weird to have that experience so late in life. It's like watching Game of Thrones now. Everyone's already seen it, and you're telling people winter is coming like anyone gives a shit. It's like doing Game of Thrones stand-up now. But because I got into the game so late, the kissing game, I did a lot of things I wish I hadn't because I didn't know what I was doing. You know that phrase, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Well, this boy was a world-renowned cow purchaser from the big city, and I was a small-town cow with that youthful cow glow still in her eyes. It sounds like the beginning of a really weird Hallmark movie. But I'd sat by and watched as every other cow on my dairy farm got sold off, and now all that was left was me and that cow who, when you milk her, just sour cream comes out for some reason. And so when this world-famous cow purchaser comes to visit the dairy farm, I'm like, this is it, I'm finally gonna get sold. So to lock down the sale, I do what any smart cow would do. I give him a sample of the milk. And I rationalize that I'm not letting him have the milk for free because you're not stealing from Costco when you take a sample. You're merely deciding whether or not you want to buy a 124 pack of trail mix. That much trail mix is a big commitment. So he takes a sample, but he doesn't make me an offer, which confuses me. Like, we're well beyond Costco sample rules at this point. It's uncharted territory. But who am I to say how many samples are enough? I'm but a simple cow, and tales of his cattle purchases are told throughout the land. So I'm just giving out samples hoof over fist at this point. Still no sale in sight. So I'm pissed, and I flat out ask him if he's gonna buy me. And he freaks out and goes, I don't know. You don't know, but you've had so many samples. And let's be honest, you already knew what milk tasted like, right? But it seems like he'd be such a good cow owner and would give me the good hay and let me sleep in the barn and stuff. And he's funny, and I think it's good for a cow to laugh sometimes. So I just keep giving out samples. It's sample city over here. But one day, I decide that I've had enough of all this sampling business. So I tell him, I don't need you to buy me today, but it would be really nice to know if at some point, maybe, possibly, you'd think about buying me. If it's the label that's freaking you out, we don't even have to call it a sale. Just let me come home with you. I won't tell nobody. And he tells me that he'll think about it. So, of course, I can't sleep, and I'm up all night chewing cud and getting tipped over by the local ewes. Cow stuff. And he comes back the next day, and he tells me that he's just not in a spot where he can purchase a cow right now, even though he's the most decorated cow purchaser this side of the Mississippi. Never mind the fact that he flew on a plane to come visit my dairy farm and gave me his flannel and told me that I was his muse. His muse. I thought that he liked me for who I was on the inside, the burger parts of the cow. But he just liked milk. So clearly I was very naive about the way relationships worked. I thought that when two people liked each other, the next thing that happens is that you get into a relationship. And I thought that when you don't want to be in a relationship with someone, you have to tell them that before you spend 2.5 months leading them on. Like when you're buying a house that someone died in. The seller has to disclose to anyone interested in buying the house that someone died there, because that house is haunted now. There's ghosts in there. The seller doesn't get to wait until you and your family have already fully moved in and your darling daughter Esmeralda starts seeing a headless woman at the foot of her bed to let you know that his great aunt Hazel bid it big time in that very room not 3 months ago. At that point, it's too late. Great aunt Hazel's already possessed Esmeralda, and now all Esmeralda wants to do is watch I Love Lucy reruns and eat plain oatmeal. So you talk to the guy who sold you the house, and you're like, hey, why would you sell me this house without telling me that your great aunt Hazel died here? And he's like, oh, well, you never said that you didn't want to be roommates with an elderly ghost. Okay, well, I didn't know I had to tell you that. I thought that was a given. And another thing, why is Great Aunt Hazel's head missing? And of course he says that how his Great Aunt Hazel died is, quote, none of my concern. As long as she's possessing my daughter's body and using her as a vessel to complete her unfinished business, I think I get to know where Great Aunt Hazel's head went. So you look into an exorcist for Esmeralda, but all the parenting advice message boards are saying that you have to get a child exorcist, like it's a pediatrician or some bullshit. But the child exorcist I found on Craigslist was just a toddler in a priest costume, and his Latin was terrible. So Esmeralda's still just wandering the halls of the house looking for loose cheeks to pinch. And it sucks worse when the guy who sold you the house was your friend, and you thought surely your friend wouldn't trick you into living in a literal haunted house. And now you see him all the time, and it's weird because he knows that he sold you a haunted house, and you know that he sold you a haunted house, but you're not allowed to talk about the fact that he sold you a haunted house. And you're also not allowed to tell anyone else how spooky the haunted house is, because that would make him look bad. And you're also not allowed to be mad that he sold you a haunted house, because everyone's buying and selling haunted houses. So you're forced to stick it out with Esmeralda in the haunted house, and all of Esmeralda's complaining. Mom, my bones, they have arthritis. I'm old. Ugh. Shut up, Esmeralda. You're 7. Your bones are normal. Anyways, don't kiss boys or your daughter will get possessed by an old lady and you'll be out a gallon of milk. And that was where my set ended when I originally auditioned for the comedy special. And I was very nervous about how I would add another 3 minutes to my set. But about a month ago, a crazy thing happened. This boy, the reluctant cow purchaser and purveyor of haunted homes, told me that he missed me and that he would like to take me out on a date. And immediately, everything that had happened in the past few months went right out the window. And I said, "A date? Yes, please." And so we went on a few dates, and I listened to him talk at length about Dune. So yeah, I'd say things are going pretty well. So well, in fact, that Esmeralda stopped buying denture adhesive in bulk, and the cow sale contract seemed all but signed. So, reluctant to repeat my previous errors, I asked him, "Are you ready to be in a relationship now?" And he said, "No." No, but I listened to so much Dune. Now I just have to know what the Lisan al Gaib is forever, and I don't even get no boyfriend out of it? Ugh. I felt just like Paul Atreides when he doesn't get to have the spice. Is that anything? I wasn't really listening that hard to all the Dune stuff. So things were over again, and I was sad, but I'd been there before, and I knew how to handle it. I think maybe it's okay to be the unsold cow, even if it means that you're the last one on the dairy farm. Because someone did buy the sour cream cow. She works at a Taco Bell now as part of their farm-to-table initiative. And maybe it's not so bad to have a 90-year-old woman living in the body of your 7-year-old daughter. Because I can pretty much just coast from now on all the parenting stuff. Although I am a little bit nervous about what happens when she hits puberty. Horny grandma alert! You guys.
Keep it going for Zoe Weeb, everyone. Absolutely. Man, Dune 2, what a flick, guys. Wow. What a movie. You guys see this movie? God, was watching this movie, and it's the scene where Paul's riding the sandworm, and in the Hans Zimmer's intern score is coming in. And we're watching this movie, and my friend, he turns to me, and you know what my friend, he says to me? He turns to me and he goes, "This movie blows. I'm going to go play Mario Kart." And he got up and he left. Yeah, God, I've been watching a lot of movies. It's almost as if I'm a VMA major or something, guys. Can I give you guys some recommendations of some movies I've seen recently, just in case you need them, in case you want them, guys? Am I right with you guys? All right. Get Out. I'd like to apologize for being white. 5 stars. Hereditary. You know how embarrassing it is to cry in front of your 16-year-old friends? God. 5 stars. Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Oh, what a flick, guys, what a flick. It was during this movie that I learned my friend had his Hinge profile set to whites only. This next comedian coming up, he's a very funny guy. He's done things at places I've previously been employed. It's Mr. Sam Rico!
Hello everyone. So I'm a little new to the whole Emerson stand-up comedy thing. So of course I've been going around searching for advice. And I read online once that comedians shouldn't start their sets out with introductions. It sets the tone for the rest of the set because it shows that you didn't prepare an opening joke. And it's like, maybe you'll be just a tiny bit underprepared for the rest of your set. Anyways, my name is Samuel Rico, and I am a stand-up comedian. And as a stand-up comedian, I am locked into this job. I cannot do anything else ever. Being a stand-up comedian and having a part-time job is what I like to call, and the world likes to call, a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest is when you have 2 conflicting ideas within one purpose, and they just really don't mix. It's something that's like really, inherent to human understanding, Like you don't hire an underqualified relative to work at your job. Leonardo DiCaprio can't give speeches at colleges. And politicians cannot be gynecologists. It's really simple. It makes sense. Comedians, we can't do anything. Me wanting to be funny and you wanting something from me will absolutely never end up well. It's not happening. Like, for example, I could never be a pharmacist. Never, ever. You needing immediate medical attention and care and me wanting to mildly inconvenience you, we are not meeting a middle ground. Like, if I was a pharmacist, the things that I would do, all of them would be legal, mind you. But if I see you walk in to my pharmacy and you come up to my desk and you're requesting some medicine, you've had a headache or whatever, I'm like, oh, I got you. Head back, like, it'll cure your headache. Maybe you got a risk of scarlet fever or whatever, but it's nothing. I'll give you like Miralax for your common cold. Like, you won't have the cold anymore, but I can still guarantee that you're not gonna be coming out of your house. And like, as a pharmacist, if you're coming up to me and you're talking so much about your list of symptoms that I should totally care about, I will in turn hype up a medicine to you. I'll be like, oh, every single symptom you got, cross off. I got the miracle cure. And then I'll clock out. Like, even being a pharmacist, actually, forget being a pharmacist. Comedians can't be in the medical field at all, period. Can you imagine a funny brain surgeon? Imagine you're about to get brain surgery. You're like to the doctor, please tell me I'll be okay. Don't worry, kid. You ain't got to worry. You don't have to think about it. Knock him out. What if those were your last words? Like, can't be in the medical field. I also can't be a politician. Politicians are supposed to be dumb and funny on accident. Comedians are supposed to be dumb and funny on purpose. Doesn't really mix. And politicians are normally rich. The average comedian is paid in Argentinian pesos, so nothing's really matching up here. But even as like a comedian, there are definitely some jobs that I would still like to do because there's so many random people that you can find on the street, and you'll strike up a conversation with them, and they'll be making six-figure jobs, and like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I write the expiration dates on the bottom of Legos. Like, what do you mean? There's so many insane jobs out there. Like being a nuclear reactor diver. That's a job you can do twice. 2 times. 3 if you are looking to secure a retirement fund for your children. That just makes me so insane. Have we not learned anything from our past experiences as human beings at all? Nothing good has ever come out of a human and a nuclear reactor, ever. Like, say you get your nuclear reactor tenure done, you do your 2 dives, and you just have that on your resume now. What are you gonna do? I don't know if you're overqualified for the job or just a genuine health risk. But you could go work out at McDonald's, though. Radiation is the least of your concerns there. But when you're done with your tenure, of course, as a nuclear reactor diver, you can get into more jobs, like being a dog food taste tester, which is just getting paid to follow my intrusive thoughts. So, ooh, sign me up. If dog food isn't quite your alley, you could be a golf ball diver. Yeah. You can be Tiger Woods' little baby boy. All of those golf balls that our 40-year-old white population is sending into the delicate being known as nature, there's a job for retrieving them, and it pays about $52K a year, which is about the same as a police officer. Let that say what it should say about our society as America as a whole. But my ideal job, my dream job would be a fortune cookie writer. I would be amazing. You get your Chinese food, you pick up all the fortune cookies, because that's obviously the best part of the meal. You get like 10, 20, 30, ask for the whole goddamn basket. And you start cracking them open thinking you can get anything normal, but no, I'm writing them. I'm writing them. Crack it open. Your mama don't love you. Enjoy life while you still can. Don't look behind you. You will die in a Waffle House. And one of my personal favorites, cracking open, for rectal use only. And it's crazy. Fortune cookie writers make about $120K a year. That is about the same as a director of engineering with their master's. This is all to say that your degree does not matter. Like, if the whole film thing doesn't work out for you guys, hey, at least you can be a professional paper towel sniffer. Unless you have an unemployable name. And I like telling this joke because I look at the audience. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about, some of y'all don't. And that makes it even better. Unemployable names are like the coldest. The coldest to ever do it. The coldest to ever do it, Crawford. Real college football player, the coldest to ever do it, Crawford. That's his name. That's his legal name. He can't do anything but play football. He's locked into that job. That is an unemployable name. That is right up there with Devon DeQuavius Johnson. That name cannot be hired. And in sports, it's just crazy. what parents are naming their kids when they want them to go into sports, what they're naming themselves is just absolutely out of this world. I don't know where you get these ideas, especially in college football and college basketball. We got a college basketball player by the name of Kool-Aid McKensley. Kool-Aid with a hyphen. That's important. And no, he's never going to work for the Kool-Aid company. That must be a legal nightmare for him. My God. Or we can go into Emerson's favorite football player, Ben Gay. That's his whole name. That's it. Or one of my personal favorites, voted most likely to still get wet willies at 40, football player Guy Wimper. I'm telling you, parents are selling. They're selling with these names. Like, you want your child to be bullied. And at the top of the list for me is a certain college football player who's even worse than the coldest to ever do it, Crawford, which is a hard name. That's a really hard name to match up. His name is Steve Ho You Fat. The craziest part of his name isn't even the fact that his last name is his whole last name. That's on his jersey. Ho You Fat is printed on his jersey. Spelled H-O space U space F-A-T. The craziest part of his name is that his first name, Steve, is spelled with 2 E's. That's what's crazy to me. But man, it's just crazy the names we got out there. And speaking of unemployable names, my name is Samuel Rico. I'm a stand-up comedian. Y'all have been great.
Keep it going for Samuel Rico, everybody. Oh. No, I think he already got that job as a fortune teller writer. One time my family and I were at a Chinese restaurant, and I opened up the fortune cookie. It just says, "Behind you." Freaked out. Guys, I hope you had as much fun as I did tonight. That is the end of the Emerson special, Emerson Comedy Special. Come on up here, everyone. Come on up here with me. Oh, keep it going for all these wonderful comedians. Your name one more time.
Samuel Rico.
Elizabeth Stone.
Graham Iden.
Zoe Wiebe.
And I've been Benny Lamb. Thank you very much. Tip your waiters, tip your waitresses. Get home safe. God bless.